thank you again for letting me into your ears. I hope you've had a wonderful day and or evening, depending on where you're listening from today. It's been fairly chilly here tonight. It was a big temperature drop. Now I know you didn't come here to listen to the weather, so let's continue where we left off then. So now we'll do a bit of discussing of chapter 2 or so of the Ethical Slut. This chapter discusses some of the myths and the realities of ethical sluttery. Now, I won't go through the particular myths and realities because, as I've mentioned in the previous workshop, you should definitely go and purchase this bestseller. Now, when you think of some expectations behind someone who calls themselves a slut or takes ownership of that word, what do you think of? Is it someone who's promiscuous and will have sex with just about anyone? And if so, why is promiscuity condemnable and considered immoral? What's wrong with enjoying sex for the pleasure or enjoying being intimate with someone for the sake of satisfaction? Does it mean someone who thinks little of themselves and purposely belittles themselves because of their sexual history or desires? Would that not be considered depression? Would a kind soul not bring that person out of their depression by telling them what they have done and what they want to do is of no concern to anyone else and that they are perfect just as they are? Would you feed them words of affirmation? What do you feel about relationships in general? Is there only one real, in quotations, type of relationship? Why do you feel this way? Do your parents, friends, or relatives just so happen to be participating in this particular style of relationship that you copy? Do you consider the only real type of relationships to be long-term monogamous ones? Do you believe there's only one moral way to have sex? Is sex outside of marriage immoral? Do you think it's all right for one sex to participate in physical intimacy and not the other? Are people of the same sex having sex immoral? Is it okay for more than 2 people to have sex? Is 3 the magic number? Why not 4? Are orgies immoral? Was the creation of the universe and the cosmos not just an orgy of moments, power, and instances, with a little time sprinkled on top? Why do you believe this? Is sex in and of itself immoral? Do you believe that sex destroys societies, open sexuality that is? And if so, why do you believe that? Are you, right at this very moment, sexually satisfied? Lifetime monogamy, relatively speaking, is a new concept for human history. Polyamorous, poly meaning multiple, and amour meaning loves. In Tibet, the practice of polyandry was made illegal after Chinese occupation. Ancient Mesopotamian culture and Assyrian culture, monogamy, particularly arranged marriage, was considered the norm socially. But polygamy, when a man takes multiple wives, that practice, it was practiced frequently by the rulers and lay folk, no pun intended. King Darius III also had several wives and kept a stock of 360 royal concubines for his own personal use, as he would say. Ancient Egyptian men were free to marry as many women as they wanted, or rather as many as they could afford and take care of. Hinduism, Islam, the Bible. There are many instances of polygamy, but not too many instances of polygyny, the practice of a woman having multiple husbands. Perhaps these are early signs of patriarchal values. Now the Greeks, they were a people not burdened with shame or guilt. They were anything but prudes. They might have been monogamous on paper, but outside of that, they were fairly full of free love. They were, after all, the birthplace of both democracy and orgies. People practice monogamy for a variety of reasons. Security, both financial and insecurity security. Now, when I say insecurity security, I mean to say that monogamy is a brilliant way to control having to confront your insecurities. I mean, let's be honest. If you and your partner are in a monogamous marriage or a relationship, that's supposed to deter or remove the insecurity you have in regards to other people and outside influence. However, this is just putting a band-aid on an open wound that one refuses to acknowledge. Love cannot be controlled. Insecurity is a monster that lives within all of us. Jealousy, envy. All of these emotions are scary and painful, but they are monsters in which we can conquer. Monogamy seems to me a way of having to avoid battling these monsters. But we are human. We are strong. We have conquered mountains. Why then must we avoid conquering such primitive and small inconveniences? All of the benefits of monogamy are unchanged by adding more individuals. Finance, stability, personal growth, parenting. These things are actually marginally improved with multiple ideas, insights, practices, and techniques involved. Humankind has strayed away from the idea that it takes a village to raise a child, yet send their children to school to be taught by another adult. Now, depending on how you look at that, it's like the children are being raised by a single parent. That is, if that child does not have multiple teachers throughout their day. And when they do have multiple teachers, it's sort of like a polyfamily already. You can't expect one or two people to have all of the answers. So the most rational decision would be to find others with different opinions and insights, to join your group and then help raise and develop the next generation. As a matter of fact, individuals are what create societies. So why then do we limit ourselves to two? Is there any coincidence in the viewing of church and state, as if there are only two ruling bodies of a certain place? Would it be too far-fetched to imply that it's possibly both church and state, two entities that aren't as separate as they should be, have created a system in which two is the acceptable number for their benefit? Is it because of the story of Adam and Eve? Were Adam and Eve only two, or does it imply simply a penis and a vagina? And what of Lilith? Does the idea that you're only able to love one person have anything to do with the idea of thou shalt not worship any other god before me? This selfishness, only allowed to love one, does it stem from those ideals? Does everyone not want as much love, intimacy, sex, and understanding as they could possibly receive? The simplest answer is that it keeps us well within our comfort zones, these boundaries, these culturally and religiously implied comfort zones, these boxes that we've been trapped in that we're too scared to step out of as a whole. Now, not all cultures and religions push for this monogamous and sexually hindered ideal, but at times there is an overlap. Sex is not some tool to be controlled. It's not a weapon, nor is it something that can be given necessarily. It's something that is shared, traded even. An instance of shared or traded pleasure. An instance of shared or traded love. Somehow society has dictated, dick heavily implied, that sexual freedom is immoral, sinful, tragic, unbecoming, and heathenous. That your personal morality is somehow shaped by the way that you have sex, by who you have sex with, why you have sex and for what purpose, how many people separately or at once you have sex with. I could argue that some of the largest atrocities in the world have taken place by sexually repressed individuals. Now, I'd love to get into the history of mankind's most notorious serial killers, mass murderers, and leaders of genocide. But that's a topic for another workshop. The repression of sexuality damages and hurts. It does not advance. If we are to advance as a civilization, as a people, as the singular entity known as humankind, then it would be wise to let go of the tethers placed on our sex and intimacy. The chains that hold us back from our desire and love, our compassion and empathy. These are natural occurrences. Jealousy and insecurity are designed. And even if those two are natural occurrences, we are able to fight them and win. Now, I understand why the rule of two was created, as Star Wars has implied. Jealousy, envy, insecurity. These things create and breed war, destruction, murder. Yet, instead of fighting these monsters, it was decided that humans weren't strong enough to fight them on their own. And so the rule of two was created to hide them from those emotions. Unrealistic and foolish in the long run, seeing as there is still war, destruction, and murder. But now under different pretenses. And it just seemed to be a quick fix to a problem of the time. And people have been killed over there, and I hate using the terminology there, and it implies a slave and owner dichotomy to relationships. They've been killed over their partner finding that they had feelings. Even if those feelings were for someone else, they were killed over feelings and even acting on those feelings. Insatiability, love, attraction, intimacy, heat, passion. The laws of nature cannot be denied, and these are natural laws. But it raises the question, are people mature enough as a whole to accept the premise of polyamory and non-monogamy? That it's possible to love more than one person and love them equally. Because I believe that if all of humanity at least accepted the premise, saw it as natural, that would be a drastic step in the proper direction to fighting manufactured monsters. Thanks for staying a while and listening. I take with you some of these thoughts, ideas, presentations, and think on them. Really think on them. And reanalyze what is and what could be. I'd love to hear from you. You're welcome to email me, anonymously or not, at askingtemptation@gmail.com. That is askingtimtation@gmail.com. I'm no expert, yet I am going to finish my degree in psychology and further it eventually, becoming a sex therapist and a relationship counselor. That being said, I am deeply experienced, and I can help as best as I can. No matter your orientation, your color, your sex, creed, religion, kink, none of those things matter. You are what matters to me. Questions about sex, relationships, dating, your own personal demons, even if you just need someone to vent to, let them out here with me, and we can slay them together. I love you. Until then.